This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, we are proudly in association with Andy's Man Cup. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. And tonight we are 67% British, 33% Irish. But as always, we are still 100% Giants. And it's yet another therapy session, number 9 to be precise. Number 9, almost in double digits, lads, as the Packers left MetLife on Sunday, eating that dub. In a game they probably didn't deserve to win, but let's face it, did the Giants either? Who knows? Joining me tonight are Kev and Aaron to look back on the game, and no doubt there may be some venting of some sort yet again this week, or maybe not necessarily too much in the way of Craig's monologue that he vented out last week. So, lots to get into about the game. Boys, how are we doing?
Yeah, good to be on, lads. Another therapy session. That's why we're here. We'll go over the ins and outs of the game this past weekend, what went wrong, what went right, and everything in between. But there's a lot to unpack from the game. A lot of positives to take. Again, a lot of negatives. Like I said, we'll get into those. But that's why we're here, boys, to unpack it and to have the therapy session.
Yeah. So I've got on the bottom of my computer here a snow warning, so I've got prepared for the weather. It's a cold spell.
Arctic, isn't it? It's a bit chilly
in the southwest. So
I've got my draft cap on. Do you know what I'm preparing for?
Yeah.
I wonder what you're preparing for, Kev.
You said there was going to be no rants here tonight, but I just wanted to throw in, why the fuck is Shane Bowen still employed by the New York Giants? Have we seen anything different?
Why
is Brian Burns dropping into coverage? The NFL,
make it make sense.
The NFL leader in sacks is being asked to drop into coverage.
Maybe Bones thinking outside the box, but I'd rather he stay in the box and not drop out of it, to be honest.
Yeah, the words piss up and brewery come to mind. In all honesty, why does Shane Bowen still have a job? Is a great question. Maybe we'll answer it this evening. Who knows? Stay tuned and find out if we do. It's just a bit baffling, really, that he still is employed by the Giants. But hey ho, let's go week by week and see what happens. If you are watching live on YouTube, X, or Facebook, get involved in the comments. Send us your questions as well and what you thought of the game. If you want to add your thoughts in, we'll bring it up on screen throughout the show. And don't forget to like the episode, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and feel free to leave us a review on your platform of choice for you audio listeners. How many stars must they give us, Mr. Aaron?
5 stars.
5-star review on your podcast platform of choice would be very, very nice. Thank you very much. And it would warm our hearts on this very cold evening. We're going to get into the game because there's nothing else to do but do that at this point in time. It is official. 2025 is the third losing season in a row for the Giants and 12th in the last 15 years as we dropped to 2-9 in yet another game where the Giants held a fourth quarter lead but couldn't get it over the line. And just another frustrating loss as well. The Packers walked away with that 27-20 win. I'm not saying what some might say wasn't necessarily fully deserved, because the Giants dominated time of possession. They dominated most of the major stat lines, on the sheet. More lines from scrimmage in the game, more yards from scrimmage in the game as well. And it just, if you look at that stat sheet, you wouldn't say the Packers came out on top of that with a victory. But there is one key stat on there that I'll go into in a bit, and that is turnovers. If you lose the turnover battle, it's very, very difficult to come away with the win. And we lost the turnover battle 2-0 on Sunday, hence why the Packers came out with the win. Now, in a game where both teams missed extra points, Devin Singletary showed why he's still on the roster with 2 touchdowns as well. You know, motor getting going.
Sorry,
And
Dan, you got his name wrong. It's Double Terry because he scored 2 touchdowns.
Double Terry.
Very
I'm sorry, my bad. Double Terry, yeah.
I was speaking of
2
being there.
touchdowns.
I started Tracy in the fantasy this week, and Singletary came those touchdowns.
Tracy had the yardage, but
Yeah.
Singletary had the touchdowns. Sorry, Double Terry had the touchdowns. And also the returning Isaiah Hodgins back in blue, back in the Giants. 5 catches on 6 targets for 57 yards, led all receivers in the game. Even the guy that hasn't really seen light of day over the last 2.5 years since he got drafted in 2023, Jalen Hyatt was actually on the field in the game, targeted 4 times, caught 2 of them.
Yeah, and let's not mention the final
chance
target.
for him. There's little chance of him.
His final target was went a little bit awry.
It did, and Jameis did what Jameis does, and that little overthrow, possibly interception in the end zone. 36 seconds to go.
I'm not sure it was that overthrow if the receiver doesn't stop running his route.
Yeah, it's. I definitely think it's more on Hyatt than it is on Winston. But obviously, he's the one. He's the one that has the one in the column, not the the other way around.
The safety anticipates it, right? So there's always a chance that Hyatt is always second favourite to that ball. But if you give up, if you're running a flag route and you stop the route, right? That's why your quarterback doesn't come back and throw you next time, right? Because he can't trust you.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, Steve says obviously like he kind of corroborates the same point. There's no chance of him stop running his route on the last play. Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, I was surprised to see him on the field in the first place. So I think he's got more chance with Kafka as the interim coach than he would have done with Davis as the head coach. So maybe not. Maybe all is not lost for Jalen Hyatt in New York, but he might be playing himself into a contract with another team. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it wasn't a great look for him, and that kind of just reminded me a little bit of what we've seen from Banks on the other side in terms of just almost kind of like lack of effort a little bit. It was that sort of frustration, and it was an easy interception, really, wasn't it, for Evan Williams? But on the whole, though, I thought Jameis Winston brought a bit of aggression. I thought he brought a bit of leadership to that offense. Obviously, don't get me wrong, like having Jackson Dart there, he's a proven leader, he's a born leader. But having that experienced sort of head and just to sort of like calm everyone down a bit, make the throws under pressure as well, and not sort of feel like obviously he's a less mobile quarterback, but to see some of the passes he made under pressure or as he was about to get hit and then be completed is something we don't really see very often, or haven't seen very often for a long time. So it was kind of quite nice to see that as well, and also just that determination as well. To he knew at the start of the season he was QB3. But always made sure he was available. Always made sure he was like in and amongst in practice, and on the sideline as well. And he's got one of these guys that he will take his opportunity when it's thrown his way. And I think he took his opportunity really well on Sunday. And I think once Jackson Dart comes back from injury or from his concussion, should I say, I think Winston should, without a shadow of a doubt, be his backup. And I think Russ just needs to ride off into the sunset with his $10 million and see you later, you know what I mean? But obviously in Kafka's first game as interim head coach, there were plenty of positives. I wasn't expecting it to be this close a game, in all honesty, because as an OC, I've not particularly rated Mike Kafka very highly as an OC. We've seen it very vanilla, very sort of boring offense. And it's kind of been a bit sort of like, you never really sort of saw much from it. But this season, obviously, the offense has been the stronger of the units, the stronger of the 2 units. And I think what we saw on Sunday was promising. I really do. But the usual suspects rearing their ugly heads sort of week after week. It's just getting a bit tiring at this point, not being sort of clutch when we need it to be clutch. And like you said, Aaron, at the beginning, like how Shane Bowen still has a job, nobody will know at this point. The only people that do know is Joe Shane in the front office. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, with Kafka's first game, his 9-week audition as such has begun. But what positives did you see from his first attempt at being the main man, Kev?
One thing I did like, I thought that he did have an aggressive mindset. Won the toss, took the ball. Normally teams defer and they want it in the second. They want to begin the second half, but he said, "No, I'm going to take the ball," and he marched down 65 yards and took a 7-0 lead. I mean, that really hasn't. We haven't seen much of that sort of like aggressiveness from head coach in the past. He went for it in fourth downs. He went 3 fourth downs on a single drive. That's the type of aggression that we want to see. And if the analytics match up with the situation and you feel like you can get those fourth downs, then go for it. I mean, I think James Winston had the longest QB sneak I've ever seen. Was it like 10-yard QB sneak or something at one point?
Move the pile, right? Move the pile. Keep your legs churning.
Absolutely moved it. He did say he planned to go for 2 if the Giants scored late. He showed his naivety a wee bit at the beginning. He lost the challenge and he didn't sort of go for another challenge because he didn't want to lose it for the rest of the game. What I did like though is he lent on the run game. He stuck to a physical run game. I think it was 38 rushes for 142 yards. It meant that, what do we say? Control the time of possession. And I think we controlled it 36 minutes to 24. Like you said, Dan, if you look at a lot of the stats, we were up in a lot of them in the game. The stadium sort of conditions definitely pushed for a running game. The wind was swirling and it wasn't very good for long passes or kicking. But also one of the things I took away from it was the locker room leadership. He benched Abdul Carter for a mistake during the week, which turned out, he missed a practice, whether it be he was sleeping or he was recovering, which, someone pointed out you could be having a nap in your recovery. But, he benched him for the first drive. And although it was just one drive and not a quarter or stuff like that, it still shows that, he's means business. I mean, apparently Dable was just letting things like that slide all season, and
that's just not acceptable.
It's not acceptable. So that's one of the things he come in and he sort of puts a stamp on it, to say that these aren't acceptable and you're being punished for that. Carter took it well. He elevated Elijah Chapman and Dalen Cambray off the practice squads, and both contributed. Chapman was a fullback lead blocker for a touchdown, and Cambray was a demon on special teams. So for me, I think he had a really strong debut. I think, he showed that, he gave the offense a bit of an identity going forward. His chances for me on winning the full-time job kind of hinge on fixing fourth quarter defensive meltdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what happens going forward. But I thought it was a very promising, his first time out, first time as a head coach. So I'm looking to see progression from him now.
Yeah, exactly that. Aaron?
Yeah, I think there were obviously some noticeable differences from him and Dable. Again, how much of it is his influence? How much of it is Joe Shane's influence? And we mentioned last week about how if they don't agree with each other, who got the deciding vote before. Let's see how much of that is. Football-wise, the game was difficult to see true differences in offense because of the weather. I judge it, when we play in a dome, then maybe we'll see if the running tendency comes. I think it was 16 of 19 first downs were runs.
We've got the opportunity to see that this coming weekend.
Yeah, I was sort of referring to it, but yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, I'll shut my mouth then.
Yeah.
That'll be in the preview pod.
Yeah. The Just a little tease for the preview pod, you know. We're not a 5-star podcast for nothing, Dan. We're not a 5-star podcast for nothing. But that run on first down is certainly something that Dable doesn't do. Dable, if you took him as an OC at Buffalo, he was, 4 wide receivers a lot, ran the ball a lot, ran the ball hardly at all. And, so is some of Kafka tendency is to put a more balanced offense, a more run first, use the run game to set the play action. Obviously, Jameis Winston was under the center quite a lot. There was a definite inside run and a definite play action off that run element to it. Great to see Isaiah Hodgson come in and play. I think he played like the most snaps, or he was certainly the number 2 wide receiver. Hyatt actually played in the slot a little bit as well. So Wandale played on the outside and Hyatt played in the slot. So again, there's some of that mixing around of where receivers would go in, a little bit more variation. Obviously, a lot of 21 personnel with the 2 tight ends on the field a lot as well. So Bellinger sometimes would line up at fullback and play in that kind of I formation. So there was some interesting things there. Again, I didn't like the challenge for the out of bounds. I didn't see what there was to gain. If you win that challenge, they still have like a 3rd and 2, right? Which is our defense, where we play. You really gaining anything to risk that challenge? And then the Wandale one, I thought that was a catch all day, catch fumble. And I would have challenged that one away. He's saying he listened to the guys upstairs. That's what the guys said. It was a really weird comment in the press conference where he said, well, we saw what the referees were going to do because of the fumble that for their tight end that they overruled. And he said, so we knew it wasn't going to be overturned as a catch for Wandale. But that happened after the Wandale incident. So that was a bit weird to sort of, it felt like a bit of a bullshit answer. But interesting to see if we see more of that change going forward. But I've seen nothing to say that he is the man for the job moving forward. But I've also seen nothing to say he's not the man for the job. And as I mentioned to Shane, the idea of Joe Shane being on a 1-year deal, you could extend Kafka on a 1-year deal and essentially kick down the can down the road of this regime. Whereas if you hire an outside head coach, I think you have to extend Shane to go with him, because a coach sitting with a GM sitting on a 1-year deal doesn't quite seem right.
Just quickly, just off on a tangent. Why not? That's what we do here. But what are you guys' thoughts on? Say, for example, if we go for a defensive-minded head coach who would bring his scheme in and his DC in, how would you feel about Kafka staying on as OC to give Dart that continuity?
So I wouldn't rule it out. There's been enough play from the offense this year to win games. Legitimately, this isn't like last season's offense, or the season before. There is promise with this offense, and I would be interested to see what he's going to implement. And maybe that's where this audition is more interesting for me, is actually, are we going to see enough from a Kafka offense, enough wrinkles being put in over these few weeks to say, well, actually, I think this has got room to evolve? Because some of the Dable offensive stuff, one thing Dable always did would adapt to his players, right? So he'd always try and find a play to his strength. What that tended to do was simplify it a little bit. So the amount of times there's a half-field read for the QB, which in the NFL, if the defense just guesses it right, you've got nowhere to throw. Whereas with a more complex scheme, and obviously Kafka coming out of the Andy Reid tree, we know there's those more wrinkles in there, obviously, as well. So interesting to see where he goes. I wouldn't rule it out.
No, I wouldn't. I think at this point, Kafka's he's one game in, so there's only so much we're going to know after one game. But he's not done himself any harm at this point, I don't think. in terms of whether he's kept on as a head coach or whether another head coach comes in and he's kept in as offensive coordinator. I think it would be interesting to see his offense without Dable's influence. And I think that's one thing I'm really looking forward to seeing over these next 8 weeks now, is what does his offense truly look like? Because now is his time to showcase what he can do, right? So it's a case of, do we start to see, like you said, Aaron, a little bit more in terms of like mixing it up, a little bit more in terms of like exotic play calls, like what he's kind of laid a foundation this week. Do we see him sort of step up a little bit next week and then step a little bit the week after? You know, we're going into Detroit this weekend. They're a bloody good team. We need to score points to beat them, albeit I know the Eagles scored 16 and beat them on the weekend. But it's, you know, we kind of want to see this start to progress now. And I think one point that Jamie brings up is, you know, even when we have a lot of injuries, a positive is that we are in the fight. And like I said, that foundation is there. We just need direction and coaching. Well, hopefully we have kind of more of a direction now, and we hope, you know, by the sounds of it as well, with his the way he sort of disciplined Carter for falling asleep or doing what he did. It kind of sounds like he's got that bit of fire in his belly, and he's got that sort of leadership about him. But this is an interesting question that Steve's put in the comments. I just want to throw it out to you guys. Now, if Dart pass protocol this week, do you play him on Sunday or wait another week and roll Winston again on Sunday? What do you reckon, Aaron?
If Dart's fit to play, you play him. But I would have him on a shorter leash, in a sense of, I'm going to tell Dart, we know you can win games with your legs, right? We don't need to win games this season with your legs. If you start running, I'm going to pull you and put Jameson. I want you to see the win this game from the pocket, or rolling out, throwing with your arm, because you're going to learn so much more reading defenses and throwing than you are winning games with your legs. Because if we win a game, what's it going to do? We've already got a meaningless December, right? Another meaningless December, right? We want these kind of things. But if he then goes out there, and I don't want him to run, not because I'm worried about him getting hurt, because I want him to I can see he can run, right? I want to see you develop as a passer, get the reps as a passer, read the defense, work out where the open man is, expand the scheme that way. And then if the game gets out of hand, which hopefully it doesn't, but if the game gets out of hand, right, we bench you, right? But I want you to play meaningful football for the rest of the season. And if you can pick up the wins, great. But we want to pick up your wins with the arm. We know you can use your legs. We'll save that for next season.
Yeah, Aaron pretty much nails all the points I was going to make. I mean, like, you definitely play him, and it's in a dome, so obviously, you know, you don't have to contend with the weather and stuff like that. And I want to see Kafka, you know, add wrinkles to the scheme. I want to see more under center, more play action, more, like you said, reading the defenses. This is all about now, because we're not going to make the playoffs. We're not going to have any postseason. Yes, we want wins.
Has the fat lady sung yet?
True. But like our future has a better chance of winning if Jackson Dart can pick up an NFL offense and make on NFL reads and distinguish, you know, what the defense is doing. Like Aaron says, we know he can run. First of all, Captain won't or shouldn't call any designed quarterback runs. Leave them well alone. Pick up the yardage if it's there. Slide. If it's not, throw the ball away. These are all things that if he practices now going forward, that will stand him in good stead 4 years to come.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, obviously, Winston there as a backup, and then also Russ as well with his experience. It's two great quarterbacks there you can learn from and learn to be that pocket passer, more of a pocket passer, especially with Winston, because let's face it, he's not exactly the most mobile of quarterbacks. So you've got the ability there to learn from that ideal pocket passer in Jameis Winston. Now, I know obviously Jamie said about it being frustrating and how many times we've been close, but you know, we've seen consistent signs from the offense this season, even with the injuries that we've had. But but there's something missing. There's just on the offense. There's something missing right now to enable that offense to get us over the line, to be that clutch when they need to be clutch. But what do you think it is, Aaron?
Yeah, I think. Well, put it this way. I think if we had Malik Neighbours on the field this weekend, we win the game, right? Do you think that we have how many targets is Malik Neighbours getting from Jameis Winston if they're on the field together?
Minimum of 10.
That last drive where Hyatt abandons his run, if that's Malik Neighbours, I think that's a touchdown, right? So I genuinely think the offense is good enough to win games. Go back to the season where Wink Martindale was still in charge of our defense. That season, it was, well, if Wink's defense can hold a team under 20 points, we might sneak this game, right? I don't have that feeling anymore. I'm certain our offense is good enough to win most games. We just need the defense to play at the level it was playing that Wink season. And this is a 8-9 win season comfortably, even with the injuries, right? Obviously, I think the thing that comes with this offense is there's a few guys that are free agents. So Greg Van Roten's a free agent. Wan'Dale Robinson's a free agent. You've got to decide what you're doing with those pieces. There's definite opportunity to cut John Runyon from a salary point of view as well. So like the interior O-line is probably a position we'll reinforce in the offseason, either in free agency and the draft. And if we can get that right, we can take another step up, because again, some of the pressure that we've had this season has been interior rather than, I think obviously Jermaine Illuminor again is a free agent as well. So again, there's going to be some investment in that O-line this offseason. I think the receiver, we've seen what Hodgins has come in as a backup receiver and shown some things. We've been missing that second receiver almost all season, or third receiver if you count Wan'Dale as a slot. But we need another receiver in that can play as a one if my Neighbours is unavailable. And I think that's what we're missing. I think some of the mistakes that we've seen in games, I would put on the head coach rather than the offense as such. So we scored too quickly against Denver, right? We could see how that game was going. We rushed, and maybe, Dart being a rookie didn't see it. He was so desperate to score on that first and goal, and it was ruled short and then ruled a touchdown. Actually, being ruled short would have been a much better thing, because that would have taken another 30 seconds off the clock. We've still got the ball on the 1-inch line, and we can score after that kind of thing. So there's been mistakes in offensive or head coach game management stuff. There's been penalties at crucial times on drives. There's been not throwing a flag or not throwing a challenge flag on a third down drop that wasn't a drop. These kind of things. So there's we certainly haven't had the luck. There was certainly a few things in this game. On the game-winning drive for Green Bay, there's an OPI on the third down catch down the field that isn't called. That against us, if that was, we saw what happened to Slayton the other week. That was never an OPI, and it was given an OPI. This was an OPI for sure, and it isn't given. So we're not getting those lucks. When you're out of luck as a team and you're not performing well, you don't get that luck. We all know in the Premier League, it's always the teams at the top that get the rub of the green. So we just need to play more complementary football. Get there. The offense will do its job. I'm fairly confident.
Yeah, and I think one thing that really stands out for me this season is the fact that only one team has scored more points than us that has a negative point differential so far this year, and that's the 7-3 Chicago Bears. They're the only team they've scored more points across the whole season so far. And obviously, bear in mind they've played 10 games, we played 11, so it's slightly skewed a little bit. But we ranked 20th in scoring, averaging 21.5 points a game. So our offense is clearly doing the job. We're mid-table when it comes to point scoring. We're not scoring points that of a 2-9 team. We're scoring points that are the evidence states a 7-3 team, right? So it's like, what? Like it's clearly only on one unit, right? Grant, we've played 11 games. Those with a similar record to us. Tennessee were averaging 14.3 points a game. Las Vegas were averaging 15.5 points a game. Cleveland are averaging 16 points a game. The Saints were averaging 15 points a game. And only the Jets and Washington, who have a similar record to us, are averaging anywhere close to us. So they're the fact they rank way lower in terms of points per game, but yet we have the same record as them, or very similar record to them. Just makes you think, explain that one, defense. Explain that one, Shane fucking Bowen. Explain it, because I can't. To me, it just says the defense sucks ass right now.
We'll get there, Dan. We'll get there. I'll just a couple of points on the offense.
Go on.
A couple of points on the offense. I mean, like, when I looked at this question a little bit earlier, and I was making a couple of notes, the first thing I put down was, this is a functioning offense that we can win with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really is. I mean, like, the running backs, they delivered this past weekend. I mean, Tyrone Tracy had 19 carries, 88 yards, 4 catches, 51 yards, 2 clutch 20-yard screens that extended drives. And then Singletary was a perfect complement. He came in for 44 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a key 4th and 1 pickup.
Double Terry was a perfect compliment.
Double Terry, my bad. That is on me. I do apologize, Devin. Double Terry, double D. Eh? But, and like, even like Theo Johnson, like, he shut me up this week. I mean, he came in and he had, like, it was only 3 catches, but they were all in big moments. They were key third down conversion, keeping drive alive. So we need more of that from him. So, you know what I mean? Like, running back production like that, Cam comes back next year, only adds to it. Theo Johnson, can he start to play like he did this weekend and be reliable? And, Isaiah Hodgins came in and he returned, and it looks like a mistake letting him go, to be honest. He signed on Thursday, he had 5 catches for 57 yards. He's reliable, physical, he's a chain mover, something that the wide receiver room has sorely missed. And going forward, we need, I'm not saying Isaiah Hodgins is going to come and be our wide receiver too, but we need someone like that, a reliable, sturdy, big wide receiver who can just keep chains moving. And you've got next to Malik Neighbors, who is your electric superstar. That is what we need. Slayton hasn't been showing that. Slayton has flashed. But if we get a wide receiver in that wide receiver room who can give us the type of stuff Isaiah Hodgins was giving us this past weekend, then this passing attack will be phenomenally better, and we will be able to put even more points on the board. And also, like, just to touch on Jameis Winston as well, I mean, like, talk about getting the full experience of Jameis Winston. Like, he went, was it 19 of 29, over 200 yards, a rushing touchdown, but that one interception. He did have some near picks as well, in the wind, the ball's just sort of sealed off on its own, and the defense made those picks, could look worse, but he still made some big critical throws when he needed to on 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah, the 4th down conversion was huge, right?
Oh, it was massive, like huge. I mean, so this offense as a whole kind of showed what we can do. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, we were good offensively, but we just didn't play that well, or didn't get the rub of the green on certain things. And but there was enough there to go, yeah, we can win with this. We absolutely can. I mean, and if it wasn't for Hyatt was given his chance today, like you said, Aaron, he played inside, he played outside, and it was nice to see him in the slot, and he made a couple of nice grabs. And you're like, okay, that's what we want from you. Just make a couple of nice grabs when they come your way. But then he showed his lack of immaturity, where on that final play, you have to commit. I'm not saying go and make a touchdown grab, but at least go and contest it. And if it is a wayward
try and make
throw,
a play on the ball,
exactly that, Dan. Exactly that. If it's a wayward throw, throw yourself into a DB and go and bat that ball down. So I mean, like I said, so just to put a cherry on it, like, the offense is fine, good even. But can you imagine this offense now with Cam Scadaboo back, Jackson Dart back, Malik Neighbors back, a solid number 2, and maybe an offense. If someone I was listening to something the other day, and it was like, the Giants, or maybe it might have been the call on the game, The Giants' offense is like, their bright spark or their sort of their what do you call it? Their like best feature or their sort of like thing, and the offensive line is just a little bit above average. But we've been crying out for that for so long. Strength, that's it. So the offensive line was their strength of the Giants, and it's just above average. But that's all we've been crying out for years. So can you imagine if we have all the other pieces around it? I mean, yeah, this offense actually I think could be really, really good going forward.
And I think it's really worth calling out, right? We've talked all about coaches who shouldn't be on the team. The one guy that needs a pay rise and shouldn't be allowed to leave is Carl Brasillo, right? This is the same offensive line that we had last season, right? I think in this game, John Michael Schmitz had the highest pass blocking grade of the line. I think it was like a 78. Anything in the 80s is exceptional, basically, in the PFF grading system. So we are seeing this line develop, right? And this is what we talked about, and I think H-Town in the comments mentions it as well about development of we need coaches to develop players. We've seen that on the O-line. This is the same group of players that looked absolutely atrocious. I think if you look, Daniel Jackson Dart, his yards lost per sack are the least by anyone in the league. Part of that is Jackson Dart's elusivity and his willingness to climb the pocket, but he's got the confidence in the O-line, and there's been times where he's had all day to make throws as well.
Exactly.
So I think, and it's not like he's got the league number one receiver downfield trying to open all the time or this, that, and the other. So yeah, I think just to call out Carl Brasillo, I think any coaching staff is retained. It better be him.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think talking about Hodgins as well, it almost begs the question, like, why is it taking till now to bring him back off the Steelers practice squad? Why was he not brought back when Malik Neighbors was injured?
He looked like our best wide receiver there.
Oh,
yeah. He's off the street.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense. What possible answer has Dave's got for that? And the thing is, as well, it's not like he's an unknown entity to us. What did we see in 2022? Yeah. We saw Isaiah Hodgins catching passes from Daniel Jones, led us into the playoffs. So why is it taking this long? I don't know. But
he is a limited receiver. He's a catch and fall down type, right? So he's not a catch and run and thing.
Yeah, his yak's not great, right? But
yeah, but he is. He had an average depth of target of 9.5 yards. So that's almost a first down.
First down, right?
On every target, or certainly on every completion. Obviously, he's a big-bodied guy and everything else. He is a guy that can do a job for you as a fourth wide receiver in a squad, right?
I was just about to say that. You can't tell me
that Jalen Hyatt clearly can't do.
But you can't tell me at the beginning of the season he wouldn't have been the fourth wide receiver. Like, he should have been on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes you wonder how it's got to this point. We've only just brought him in when Jalen Hyatt's been on the rest of the whole season and has done sweet fuck all. But I just want to bring a couple of comments from this watcher evening H-Town TX41TX. Thanks for tuning in. With O-line, D-line, the Giants have real coaching, would have this team above 500 easily. Nice. He's meant he or she or they, don't know who you are. Incompetent ownership equal to incompetent coaching equal to incompetent play on the field. Interesting. Neither staff that's developing, elevating, and maximizing the talent on the roster. No one has improved with the staffs the Giants have since Tom left. That's the purpose of coaching, improving players. You're not wrong.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Dave was about OC than head coach. Bowen just isn't a good DC. Well, we know that all too well. Have to bring in coach from Seattle, Rams, Denver. Those sort of defensive cultures. I completely agree with that, to really build that culture. Yeah, I like that. Here's one for you, Aaron. Do we re-sign Illuminor?
I would try for sure. He's going to want right tackle money. I would, but I don't think you let a guy out of the building. And if Bo develops to become the right tackle, you can always play Illuminor in at guard. But that's if you're playing him for tackle money, you're not going to be willing to do that. And that's my fear is that
if you're going to pay him upwards of 15 mil a year, you ain't going to want to then move him into guard and let a second-year pro take over the tackle.
I was just about to say, like, good starting right tackle money is now about 18 mil, going north of that now per year, and that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's big money. It's big money. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about defense. Then obviously,
yay,
we have to. I know we have to. We all know the struggles that have led to the Giants' defense being ranked as one of the worst in the league across most of the major metrics. And we've spoken about scheme, we've spoken about coaching issues. But one thing we haven't really spoken too much about is identity of this defense. What, if any, what identity, if any, does this defense actually have? Or is it a case of just blow it up and start again next season when we get rid of Shane Bowen?
So those goats that faint when they get scared? That's the identity of our defense. When the pressure is really on, they just go and fall over. That's our spirit animal of our defense, the fainting goat. Because what we have seen is generally we've seen 3 quarters quite often of fairly decent play. I mean, we have conceded points in a thing, but we generally see sort of 3 quarters of fairly decent play. Obviously, there's some effort things from individuals like Banks and like things like that. But in the fourth quarter, they can't stop a light breeze.
I mean, it is like, to talk about defense a bit, right? The identity was supposed to be a fantastic pass rush and being able to stop the run. And our secondary looked like it was improved enough to be able to keep a quarterback in the pocket and keep him holding onto the ball to allow a pass rush to get there. That has not happened. What has happened is that the pressure rate is high, but the production is low. I mean, Brian Burns is having such a good season. I mean,
he's second behind Myles Garrett, and he's got 13, right?
Yeah, exactly. Myles Garrett's got 15 only because he's had 2 games with like 4 and 5 in 2 games. But Brian Burns has been like steady production. Fair enough. The 2 sacks Sunday were soft, yes, but they all count. But he still had 4 QB quarterback hits, and he was dominant like all day. I mean, no one else is getting home, making the sacks. I mean, I saw was this the Tiki Barber on WFAN, and he was saying that he's sitting there watching the game and he can predict what the defense call is because he just knows what's coming, and it's just too obvious, And we are sending pressure, but the offense can read it and knows what's coming. So if you're getting pressure, they're able to block it easy enough. So, like I said, the identity was supposed to be getting pressure, and we're just not getting it. I mean, and then talk about the back end. I mean, Javon Holland, he came back, and he only allowed 1 completion, but it was a touchdown. So that doesn't help. I mean, Deontay Banks, he's been doing well as a kick returner, but he's still struggling as a corner.
Leave him there.
I know, I think he had
leave him on special teams.
1 target, 1 catch for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. And don't talk to me about his tackling or lack of tackling. I mean, he takes poor angles. I don't know how to get the sentiment across, but when it comes to him going for the tackle, he just pussies out. I don't know other way to look at him, and it's so soft, and you cannot play soft in this league. So and other players just haven't held their hands up either. I mean, and what's one thing the year after year that is pretty much guaranteed with this Giants defense is we give up yards in the run game. I mean, the Packers this past week They went for 128 yards on 23 carries, 5.6 yards per carry. That's the most all season with Josh Jacobs out of the team. Teams can run inside, they can run outside, they can just run on us all day long, and it's just like it's gone beyond a joke at this point. A while you're like, Giants give up loads of rushing yards. Now it's just like, what is going on? Like, what is actually going on? I mean, Big Dexy, for how phenomenal he is, he starts off games really well, but he's fading at the fourth quarter, and he just isn't the same player in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know whether his conditioning is wrong, or he just did in the preseason and stuff like that. In camp, he just wasn't worked. He was sat in the sideline and did nothing all camp. I know you're trying to preserve his health, but he just hasn't got a motor for full 60 minutes at the moment. And again, our identity. Do you know what our identity is on defense? Blown leads. Do you know what I mean? It's the 5th blown lead of the year. Do you know what I mean? 4 of those are in the fourth quarter. 4 lead in the fourth quarter, and we get 4 times we give it up. It's just absolutely criminal. I mean, it's just. I mean, you said at the beginning, Shane Bowen, it has to go. Like, whether it be today, tomorrow, or this week or next week, but I would love to see if this defense can do anything under different sort of guidance, a slightly different scheme, and I'd promote someone from within. Like, I'd say, I'm really sorry. Kafka can turn around now. He's the head coach. He can turn around now and go, look, it's the same. It's the same old things. It's not working. I need to make a change. I'm the head coach. It's on my head now. I need to make a change. Sack him and promote someone up within and give them sort of a guidance of how you want this defense to play, because our identity is people run on us, people pass on us, and when we've got the lead in the fourth quarter, we roll over.
Yeah. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head.
31st in takeaways.
Yep.
And that's been consistent over the last few seasons, right? We don't generate the turnovers, we don't generate anything, and that's partly scheme and kind of what you're coaching the guys to do. There was a whole be a damn pirate before the season, and so they're more like.
And the thing is, like, you often see, like, when our receivers have caught the ball, and you often see, like, opposing DBs, wrapping them up, trying to punch the ball out, and sometimes they do end up punching the ball out. Our DBs, you just see them especially the likes of Banks. Oh, no. Oh, well, never mind. 30-yard catch, well done. No attempt to punch the ball out, and it almost like it just where's the effort? But
it's almost like they're hiding.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned about obviously Josh Jacobs not really being in the game. For me, like, what's his name, Emmanuel Wilson, 11 carries, 40 yards. Doesn't sound all that. He scored his first rushing touchdown of the season. It just had to be against the Giants, right? Malik Willis, 1 run, 16 yards, brilliant. Average yards per carry, 5.6 yards per carry across 23 carries. So hand the ball off first down, hand the ball off second down, you've got yourself a first down, job done. There's just no intensity when it comes to the run, and it for a supposed guru in run defending. I'm not celebrating anything, so I don't know why it's come up. But for a supposed guru in run defending, it's just been god awful. And I think the fact that he was brought in as the run defense is going to be amazing. Well, actually, no, it's not. And I think that's more than enough reason to get rid of him. And
yeah, I think
the thing is that there's certain parts of this defense that are incredible. The fact that we were talking before we came on air about Abdul Carter, we've mentioned him obviously since we've been on there as well. Just his reaction time is elite. It is one of the best in the league. Every time you watch a highlight of his back, it's almost like every time you think he's jumped offside, but he hasn't, because the ball's barely moved when he's reacted, and he's on that tackle like before you even know it. And it is kind of criminal that he's only got half a sack so far this year. But at the same time, we've got Brian Burns on the opposite side, who is just having an absolutely incredible year. He leads the league in sack yards. I think he's got 106 sack yards across 13 sacks, and that just shows that he's getting the pressure is there, and it's flushing the quarterback out, and Burns is there to wrap it up and take him down. But I don't think we've seen enough from Thibodeau. I don't think we've seen enough from Dex, obviously, and yeah, if you take those 4 games. Sorry, I'll come to you in a second, Aaron. If you turn those 4 games that we've lost the game in the fourth quarter, turn them games into wins. We're sitting at 6-5 right now. We're sitting pretty at second in the division right now, and potentially looking forward to December is let's play some meaningful football and let's get ourselves a wildcard spot.
Yeah,
but instead we're 2-9. We're staring the season down the barrel, and the train is maybe just about to leave the depot at this point.
Well, I think and maybe slightly looking forward to that draft. I wouldn't mind us spending 7 or 8 picks on the fucking defense and not having a single offensive player, because what we're seeing on defense is we've had some injuries. Okay, some of our starters are injured, but there is no depth there whatsoever, right? And we're on offense. We've had Bo step in and play on the O line. We've had receivers step up. Scatterboo started as the third string running back, and even now when Scatterboo's out, we've seen play from both the other guys. We've got the depth on offense to make do when we're missing some of the starters. On defense, that's not true. And our starters, the guys that have been picked highly, like Banks, aren't playing at the level that they need to be. Banks is the new Evan Neal, right? Like, he has been a complete bust Evan Neal may be the biggest bust ever. For a first-round offensive lineman, worse than Eric Flowers, and talking about his Giants play.
And the reason he's worse than Eric Flowers is because he was picked so highly in the first round. I might add, Eric Flowers was pretty trash, but yeah.
And Banks, his run grade was a 30.9 grade from PFF. A 30, not like a 40 or whatever. Corey Black, who came in kind of replacement for Banks, had a 60 run grade defense. I got a small sample size, but
the guy that got cut after the camp, the guy that went on into the practice squad, got picked up by the Jets, and then came back to us when we needed help.
And if you look at that, the Wilson touchdown run where Dex is triple teamed by one of the guys who also false started on that play, but you don't get all of those calls, right? But Dex is triple teamed, right? So that means somebody is not being blocked, right? And between I think it was DJ Davidson, not sure. DJ Davidson, 37.4 run grade. Right, the guy that's there to stop the run, essentially. Roy Robinson Harris, 39.3 run grade. Right, so it could have been him in on that play, not supported. That fourth lineman or that third down lineman is not stepping up. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles was also in that play. Should have had a clean shot on him coming through the hole because Dex is being triple team. 42.8 run grade. Right, so the guys that we've brought in to play around things are some of the guys around that are not performing on this thing. So we need, the guys that we expect. Bobby Okereke, 85 run defense grade. Right, I don't think Bobby Okereke is having a fantastic season, right? But 85 run grade, he is often the guy making the tackle. Just for me,
he's doing his job.
Is too far down the field. I like him to be closer to the line of scrimmage making the play. He's tackling at 5, 6, 7 yards quite often, and obviously he is making that cleanup play. It's just not quite quick enough. Cordell Flott, 65.4 run grade. Andrew Phillips, 64.6. Weirdly, Drew Phillips seemed to got benched for Nick Jones in that game at one point and seemed to get taken out in the second half for Nick Jones. I don't quite know what was there, but yeah, we just haven't had the play. The second best interior defensive lineman was Elijah Chapman on run defense. And Elijah Chapman is a limited-bodied guy, and he's scoring our highest interior D lineman run grade. Darius Alexander almost had the same grade as Dexter Lawrence. So hopefully Darius Alexander develops. I think he's a guy that needs a bit more development than we'd hope. He's also an older prospect, so it's a bit dangerous. It's a bit disappointing that he's not more of the finished prospect. But we could quite easily draft two interior linebackers. We could try easily add another safety. We could quite easily add 2 more cornerbacks into this defense and still feel like we've got to develop the players that we've got to get there. Like I really do worry about the talent level across the whole defense, and it's really shown up with the injuries that we've had. Obviously, middle linebacker was probably our thinnest position, and we've had the most injuries at middle linebacker this season. But yeah, wouldn't you love we're likely to have. I mean, ironically, we might end up with the first overall pick a year that we don't need a quarterback, but we're still in the hunt for a first overall pick. 15 years of waiting for the quarterback, getting that one, and always being a couple, one win out of getting it, and we're actually in position this year that we could end up with 1 overall and not be looking at a quarterback. But what about an LT, middle linebacker, to come in and just be that central piece on the defense, that domination on the defense, right? That's what we're missing. I think
an Antonio Pierce type, you mean?
An Antonio Pierce type.
Coached by maybe an Antonio Pierce on defense.
I'd give my right testicle for that right now. Yeah, I think one. Let me find the comment I just put up. Where is it? Was it one I just put up, or is it another one? Oh, there you go. So Bowen plays more physical at the line of scrimmage, disrupting routes, allowing D-line to get the pressure more, press man, zero blitz, have player play downhill, bait teams to slant, and drop DNs for pick. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Once the D-line have done their job, everything does seem a lot less physical. It just seems it all seems very soft. The sort of the DBs and sort of even down to like outside of Bobby O, everything does seem a little bit sort of soft. So it's kind of it's definitely a get rid of Shane Bowen and look somewhere else type of time. Now, before we go, like obviously this game, there were things that stood out. There were things that stood out for the wrong reasons as well, and sort of make you sort of scratch your head and sort of, but what, if anything, have you learned from this game, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, we're still a team that is competitive, but cannot overcome a non-perfect game. Whether that's the officials calling it, getting the 50-50 calls right, or in our favour, whether it's penalties, whether it's turnovers, whether it's just simple mistakes. If we don't get those right, we're not going to win the game. We're not good enough to overcome it. And I've not seen anything change this week to previous weeks. Let's see how the coaches go. Let's see how the players develop. Obviously, see some of the personnel decisions over the rest of the season. Obviously, Dylan Cambray didn't get any snaps as a receiver. Obviously, Hyatt maybe not getting so many snaps as a receiver after his last play. So will we see Dylan Cambray come on as and get some slot snaps because obviously there were some slot vacancies available. But really interested to see where we go on that kind of thing. I think the other thing that's been really good this season, generally, has been the kickoff and kick return team, specifically on specials. So I think we're top 5 in the league in field position starting and kind of preventing field position. I know we had a few kicks go out of bounds last week, It was better this week, but that unit is performing really well.
And yet we're 2-9.
Yeah, so again, we're not,
sense.
Complementary football and all that kind of stuff needs to come into it, but the players haven't quit. It's not like the end of the Joe Judge era where the players quit, right? No. They're the squad, the team, the general. There's individuals, but Banks was playing terribly 2 seasons ago. It wasn't that thing. So the players are still playing, and as long as the players are putting out effort on the field, I'm quite happy to spend my Sunday evenings watching the team and supporting the team because the players are still playing for the shirt. I will still support them.
Exactly that. Kev, what do you take away from this game?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, we still don't get the rub of the green. We still don't get calls. I mean, a 35-yard DPI on Belton I thought was very soft that led to the Packers touchdown. I mean, the 4th and 3 sack when we were on Green Bay's 10-yard line after 16-play drive, we came away with no points there. Was it one of their wide receivers, Williams, had a 33-yard catch on 3rd and 10? That has kind of started the final collapse. I mean, again, on 3rd and long, our defense just always seems to give. You expect the other team to make the first down, which is just you shouldn't be in that position. On 3rd and long, you should be like, fantastic, we're exactly where we want to be. Let's get off the field now and make them punt, and we just don't. But just to top it off, I mean, I thought Aaron's right. This past Sunday, Kafka's team, they played hard, and they started to show an identity, especially on offense. The run game is alive again, which was good. Winston's shown that he's capable, but a little volatile. He has his moments, obviously. And, I mean, the Giants' defense, I put a bow on that. It's done what it's done all season, which is basically fold at the finish. The Giants cannot finish games. And until that changes, nothing else really matters until we can see out games with the lead. But for Kafka, last thing on Kafka, I thought it was he did almost everything right for someone who's head coach in his first ever NFL game. I thought it was very promising, a promising audition for him, just not a winning one.
No, exactly that. And I think the only thing I've learned from this game is, I mean, I've not really learned it. It's just sort of confirmed it even more so. But just go, Shane Bowen, please already. Please, just go. Leave with your head held high, my friend. Just offer your resignation, offer to walk out. We don't need no firing. We don't just leave, please. Because your defense is trash, my friend. Your defense is trash. Your defense cannot keep our team in the lead when it comes to the 4th quarter. When it comes to the clutch moments, your defense just cannot do this. And that is on you. You are the leader of this defense, and that is on you. And also, I've learned that Mike Kafka may have what it takes, but it's only 1 week. So I'm holding out judgment right now.
Yeah, I mean, just the same with Dable with Bowen, as in, he won't be back next year. I mean, we're pretty much 99% sure he won't be back next year. So why not just get rid of him now and just see if someone can bring a bit of life into this defense?
That's it. Exactly that. I mean, if it's not 100% sure that he's not back next season, then good God, what's going wrong? What's going on? But hey, there we go. On to Detroit on Sunday. We keep this rolling. We keep moving. Next game, it's going to be here before we know it. But unfortunately, that is all we have time for this evening. We're back on Thursday night, as usual, to look ahead to that trip to Ford Field. To take on the faltering, yet still very good Detroit Lions. So make sure you tune in then. But anything else before we go, guys?
No, just I won't be on Thursday night, unfortunately. But I will say one thing about the game coming up this weekend. I know, Boo. It wasn't so long ago that the Detroit Lions were a bit of a laughingstock in that NFC North, and with good sort of GM decisions, good coaching, making the right decision at head coach, getting some drafts right. They've turned things around massively, and they're the force that they are now. So, there is hope that we can do something similar.
Aaron, anything to add?
Yeah. So Well, again, just hopefully positive week. I tell you what, I did give out a little tip that last week about the over passing yards, which didn't come off. I didn't know about the wind. Would have changed my mind. Here's a little tip after the kind of news from last night. I want to get your money on Cam Scatterboo to win the Royal Rumble.
Mate, I'd love to see Cam Scatterboo in the Royal Rumble. Who wouldn't? I don't know if the team would allow it, given his ankle injury, but there we go.
Well, he was already given it to Dominic Mysterio on Monday Night Raw. So
Dirty Dom and Finn Balor and the whole what's their
Judgment Day.
What are they called?
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day, that's it. Judgment Day, yeah. He gave it to them, and so did Abdul Carter. And see the guy that Abdul Carter pushed, he went absolutely flying, didn't he? Oh, see you later, mate. No chance, not a chance. But yeah, looking forward to Sunday. We'll obviously get into the game on Thursday evening. So if you're around, if you feel like tuning in and hearing us talk positivity and what we can bring to this to the game on Sunday, then make sure you tune in at 8:30 on Thursday. But check out all our socials for the latest news. Follow the links in the description to find where we are. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and hit the bell to be notified on when we go live. Appreciate everyone getting involved in the comments this evening. And thanks for watching. We appreciate you all getting involved. And my thanks go, as ever, to Kev and to Aaron for joining me. We're signing off. Until next time, let's go Giants.